Before the show starts, drop a comment below with where you're watching from, then sit back, relax, and get ready for some chilling stories. I'd only been in the new apartment for about 3 weeks when I noticed the first red flag. At first, it was just weird coincidences. My lights flickering at odd hours, music from my Bluetooth speaker randomly turning on when I hadn't touched it, and my Wi-Fi constantly dropping even though the router was brand new. I live alone. Always have. I'm careful with my passwords, I lock my doors, and I don't exactly share every detail of my life online. Still, something felt off. The building was quiet. Too quiet. My unit was on the 3rd floor, directly across from an apartment that always had its blinds drawn, day and night. The guy who lived there, I didn't know his name, was tall, mid-30s, always wore the same gray hoodie. The few times I ran into him in the hallway, he'd say something casual like, "Long day at work," or "How was your salad last night?" At first, I thought I'd mentioned it in passing or maybe posted it online, but no, I hadn't told anyone about the salad, and I definitely hadn't posted that I'd been working late. One night, I came home around 11 p.m. and something just felt wrong. The door was locked, but my doormat had been flipped. I checked every room, every drawer, even under the bed. Nothing was missing, but still it felt like someone had been there, like the air had shifted. I decided to set a trap. I placed a tiny strip of clear tape over the edge of the bathroom door, barely visible. The next day, I came home and the tape was gone. I didn't sleep that night. I started digging into the building's history. Turns out the guy across the hall, the one in the hoodie, wasn't even on the lease. The unit was technically unoccupied, according to management. I brought it up to the landlord, but he brushed me off. Probably someone subletting. Nothing illegal about that. I needed proof. So I bought a cheap hidden camera disguised as a smoke detector and installed it above my front door, facing the inside of the apartment. I also got a signal detector to sweep for bugs or hidden cams. I don't know what I was expecting, but when I ran the scan near my bookshelf, the thing started blinking like crazy. There was a tiny pinhole in the wall behind it. I dug into the drywall and found a micro camera wired straight through into the other apartment. That's when it all clicked. He wasn't just watching me from across the hall. He had eyes inside my home. I didn't even cry. I just went cold. I backed away, packed a bag with whatever I could fit in 10 minutes, and went to stay at a friend's place across town. That night, while I was gone, I got a notification from my hidden camera. Motion detected. I opened the feed. It was him. He used a key. Walked straight in, went to the bookshelf, found the hole. He knew I'd discovered it. Then he looked up, directly at the hidden camera, and he smiled. Not surprised, just smug. The police were called, but by the time they arrived, he was gone. No trace. The apartment had been wiped clean. No name, no ID, not even a fingerprint. Weeks passed. I changed addresses. Got a new phone, new number, new Wi-Fi. I checked every room, every inch of my new place before settling in. For a while, things felt normal again. Then, 2 months later, I got a plain white envelope in the mail. No return address. No stamp. Inside was a single photo. Me, asleep, in my new bedroom. After my divorce, I needed space. Not the kind you get from sitting on a therapist's couch or drinking yourself into oblivion with old friends. Just distance. So I rented a remote cabin in the mountains for 10 days. No reception, no distractions, just trees, air, and the quiet. The cabin was perfect. A little worn but clean, with a wide front porch and a view that stretched for miles. The closest neighbor, according to the listing, was a few properties down, which, in mountain terms, meant half a mile or more. Just how I wanted it. The first 2 days were peaceful. I hiked. I cooked. I sat in silence and let my head breathe. I didn't touch my phone once. On the 3rd morning, while I was drinking coffee on the porch, a man walked up the dirt road and stopped at the base of my steps. "Hey there," he called. "Name's Craig. I live down the hill a ways." He looked to be in his late 40s, lean build, outdoorsy. He held a thermos and wore a relaxed smile like we were already friends. I nodded politely. "Hey, you're Jeffrey, right?" he asked. I stiffened. Yeah, how'd you know? He laughed. Small area. The guy who manages this place told me someone new would be up here. Said you were going through a rough patch. Figured I'd come say hi. Something about that rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't remember telling anyone I was divorced. Still, I didn't want to be rude. I offered him coffee. We chatted. He told me about the trails, warned me about local wildlife. Normal stuff. But every time I tried to end the conversation, he'd pivot, ask something personal. About my ex. About my job. About why I was really out here. The next day he showed up again. This time with firewood. You looked low, he said. Figured I'd help out. The thing is, I wasn't low. I still had a good stack from what the host left me. But again, I didn't want to start a fight with the only person around for miles. Thanks, I muttered. That night, I checked my phone, no signal. None. Not even a flicker. It had worked the day before. I tried restarting it. Nothing. Then I noticed the Wi-Fi box. Dead. Not unplugged, just dead. I figured maybe the storm earlier had knocked something out. I'd go into town the next morning. Except, when I woke up, my truck was gone. Gone. Keys were on the counter, where I always left them. I ran outside in my socks, thinking maybe I parked it somewhere else. I hadn't. Panic set in hard. I was alone. No car. No phone. No internet. I started walking. The nearest paved road was supposed to be about 2 miles downhill, but I didn't get that far. Craig was standing at the edge of the trail, smiling. You okay? He asked like I hadn't just lost my only way off that mountain. My truck's gone, I snapped. Did you see anything? He didn't blink. That's strange. Must have been stolen. He said it so casually, like it was just some minor inconvenience. Then he put a hand on my shoulder. Maybe it's a sign. You shouldn't leave just yet. You need this time. My blood ran cold. How do you know what I need? I asked. He shrugged. I've seen guys like you before. Lost. Wounded. Needing to be taken care of. I stepped back. Craig's smile never faded. You should come down to my place. You'd feel a lot better after some tea. I made it just for you. I turned and walked away without another word. Ran actually. Back at the cabin, I barricaded the door and searched the entire place for anything suspicious. In the back of the closet, I found a bag I hadn't noticed before. Inside were photos of me. From the porch. From the trail. Even one through the kitchen window. That night, I didn't sleep. I waited until sunrise, then walked the full 6 miles to town. I reported everything. The stolen vehicle. The man named Craig. The bag of photos. The sheriff sighed when I told him. You're not the first, he said. We've had incidents. People come up here to disconnect. Some folks take advantage of that. Why hasn't anyone been arrested? He shook his head. They always disappear before we get close. These mountains have a way of swallowing people. My truck was found abandoned 2 towns over. No prints. Nothing on the cameras. I never went back to that cabin. I don't hike anymore. I don't travel alone. And I don't trust people who smile too easily. I landed my first real internship when I was 21, working for a mid-sized tech company on the edge of the city. It wasn't one of the big names, but it had the look, modern glass building, lounge areas, espresso machines, and a glowing review score online. I was excited. Nervous, sure, but excited. The first day was weird. No introductions, no tour, no HR orientation. Just a clipboard with my name and a badge already printed, waiting at the front desk. A woman named Claire handed it to me and said, Floor 3. Desk 34C. Do not wander. I laughed a little, thinking she was joking. She wasn't. The elevator was silent, no music, no buttons, just a card scanner and a screen that said authorized only. I tapped my badge, and it shot me straight to the 3rd floor. The place was dead quiet. Rows of identical desks, gray cubicles, people staring at their screens like zombies. No chatter. No music. Not even keyboard clicks. I sat down and opened the laptop waiting for me. Everything was already logged in. Emails, accounts, credentials, all under my name. There were messages waiting too. Internal ones. Instructions. Rules. The first line read, Do not ask questions about former employees. That should have been my cue to leave. But I didn't. I needed the credit, and honestly, I thought it was just part of some corporate culture I wasn't used to. A week in, I noticed strange things. Security cameras in the break room, the stairwell, even inside the bathroom entrances. Not pointed outside, pointed inward. One guy, Marcus, always wore long sleeves, even when it was hot. I caught a glimpse of something under his cuff one day, a faded barcode tattoo on his wrist. I joked about it. He didn't laugh. He leaned in and whispered, "Keep your head down. They like obedience." Then he walked off. The next day he was gone. His desk wiped clean, nameplate removed. When I asked Claire what happened, she blinked once and said, "Who?" That same afternoon, my email access froze for 30 minutes. When it came back, I had a new message. Strike one. No signature. No explanation. I started digging. Quietly. At night, I'd stay late under the excuse of finishing reports, but really I was going through shared drives, archives, anything I could find. I discovered logs of employees marked inactive with notes like behavioral deviance or attempted data breach. But the worst part was the cameras. They weren't just security. There was a whole folder labeled behavioral monitoring. Videos. Footage of people crying at their desks, whispering to each other, some being escorted out by men in black polos, never to return. I knew I had to get out. I copied everything I could onto a flash drive, records, footage, logs. I used my own phone to send an anonymous tip to a journalist I followed on Twitter. I figured once it was out, they'd have to answer for it. I quit the next day, told Claire I wasn't feeling well, and didn't come back. 2 days later, a story broke on an indie tech blog about a surveillance-heavy work culture at an unnamed software firm. My screenshots were in it. The company issued a statement denying everything. Called it fake, said they were victims of a smear campaign. No one was arrested. No one investigated. But a week later, I got a text from an unknown number. Strike two. Since then, I've changed phones twice. I moved. I keep curtains closed. I use burner emails. And every once in a while, I catch the same car parked near my apartment, lights off, engine idling. I don't know what they want, but I know they haven't forgotten me. I've been teaching high school English for over a decade. I've dealt with everything, fights, fake notes, emotional breakdowns, the usual. But nothing prepared me for what happened at Preston Ridge High. It started with a note. No name. Just folded neatly and left on my desk after 6th period. They're hiding something. Locker 218. Don't tell anyone. I thought it was a prank. Kids get bored, they mess around, right? But still, I was curious. After school, when the halls were quiet, I wandered past locker 218. It looked normal. Beige, scratched, just like the others. I didn't open it. I didn't have a key. But I memorized the name on the locker assignment list. Logan Price, Jr. Quiet kid. Barely spoke in class. The next day, he wasn't in school. The day after that, either. I asked about him in the teacher's lounge. Nobody seemed to notice he was gone. "We have a Logan," one teacher asked. They laughed it off. A week later, I got another note. This time, it was in my mailbox in the office. "It's not just him. Check the AV room." The AV room was supposed to be locked after hours, but that night I found the door propped open with a folded piece of cardboard. Inside, the lights were off, but the TVs were on, static on every screen. In the center of the room, someone had written on the whiteboard, "Eyes open, Ms. Taylor." That's when I started to worry. I tried to talk to the assistant principal. I mentioned the notes, Logan's absence, the messages. He smiled, nodded, and told me he'd look into it. I never heard anything back. Then my emails started disappearing. Not spam, real messages. Ones I'd sent to staff. Questions. Concerns. My inbox would show them as sent, but the recipients never got them. It was like someone had access to my account and was scrubbing it in real time. One afternoon, I found a small envelope in my car. No postage, no writing on the outside. Inside was a photo of my sister, walking her dog, on her usual route, taken from a distance. There was no note. There didn't need to be. I stopped asking questions, but the whispers didn't stop. Students would go silent when I passed by. A few started staring a little too long. One of my seniors, Olivia, once leaned over and said, almost too casually, "Sometimes it's better not to know, Miss Taylor." I started documenting everything in a private notebook I kept at home. Names, dates, notes, photos of the weird messages. I was going to take it all to the district office, expose whatever was happening inside Preston Ridge. Then came the last straw. A student I trusted, Aiden, one of the brightest kids I'd ever taught, came to me after class. He was pale, shaking. "I need to tell you something," he whispered. "But we can't talk here. Meet me in the east stairwell after school." He never showed up. Next day, his locker was cleared out, name removed from the roster, his email deactivated. Just gone. I tried to bring it up in the next staff meeting. I barely got 2 sentences out before the principal, Mrs. Hallberg, cut me off. "Rachel, maybe it's time for a break. You've been under a lot of pressure." She smiled the whole time. That night, I opened my notebook to add everything. It was gone. No sign of a break-in. No forced doors. No mess. Just gone. That's when I knew. Whatever was happening, it wasn't just students. It was bigger, organized, quiet. I turned in a request for transfer the next day. Didn't even wait for a response. I packed up my classroom and walked out. That was 3 years ago. I teach at a different school now. Smaller town. No weird notes. No missing kids. Until last week. I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Inside, a single line. "Class of 2025, you disappointed us." I've been a long-haul trucker for over 20 years. I've driven through blizzards in Montana, fog so thick in the Ozarks I couldn't see past the hood, and once dodged a drunk driver going the wrong way on I-40. I've seen it all, but nothing rattled me like what happened on Route 71 in southern Missouri. It was supposed to be a simple overnight haul. Light load, nothing hazardous, just a rush job. Pick up from a warehouse outside of Springfield and deliver down near the Arkansas border by 7 a.m. I'd driven that stretch dozens of times. The first hour was smooth. Clear skies, empty highway. I had the radio low and a coffee in hand. But around 1:40 a.m., I noticed headlights behind me. Close. Too close. I figured it was just someone trying to pass. But they didn't. They hovered in my blind spot for miles, just far enough that I couldn't get a good look in the mirror. I slowed down a bit. They slowed too. I sped up. So did they. Finally, I flashed my hazards and pulled onto the shoulder. The car didn't stop. It kept going, but just 100 yards ahead, it pulled off too. Then it cut its lights completely. Now I've seen plenty of weird road behavior. Drunk drivers, daredevils, people looking for trouble. But this felt wrong. I eased back onto the road and kept going. A few miles later, I hit a construction zone. Nothing major, just a short detour through an old service road. But the cones looked off, too spread out like they'd been moved. And the signage looked temporary, not DOT issued. Cheap plastic with the words "Road Closed" stenciled on in black spray paint. Still, I followed it. About 2 minutes in, I hit a curve and saw it. A sharp drop where the road had been cut away. No warning, no guardrails, just dirt and rocks and a 30-foot plunge. I hit the brakes hard. Tires screeched. The trailer fishtailed, but I managed to stop just short of the edge. My heart was pounding. I climbed out and walked up to where the road just ended. It wasn't part of any construction. It looked like someone had dug it out on purpose. And that's when I heard it. Footsteps. From the woods. Snapping twigs. 2 sets. Maybe 3. Slow. Getting closer. I jumped back in the cab and locked the doors. Started the engine and threw it into reverse. My trailer scraped against a tree as I backed up the narrow road, but I didn't care. I just needed to get out of there. Back on the highway, I didn't stop until I hit a gas station 30 miles south. I called the sheriff's department. Explained everything. They sent a unit to check it out. A deputy called me 2 hours later. Said by the time they got there, the cones were gone. No fake signage. No signs of tampering. Just tire marks, mine, and disturbed gravel where someone had clearly worked the road. They told me it wasn't the first report like that. Over the past few months, At least 4 other truckers had gone off the road on that same stretch. 2 didn't make it. One of the trailers had been emptied completely before emergency services even arrived. Highway robbery, but not the kind you expect. These guys knew what routes carried unmarked or lightly guarded loads. They'd fake construction zones, mess with signage, lead you into a dead end or straight off the road, then take what they wanted. The worst part? No one had ever seen them. No arrests. No suspects. No fingerprints. I switched routes after that. Requested only urban deliveries. Haven't driven Route 71 since. But every now and then, when I pass a sketchy construction site or see a car following a little too long, I remember those footsteps in the dark, and I wonder how close they got.